Hello, everybody. Hi. So great to be here. Hi. Hello. Chelly and I are here and we're ready to rumble. Let's go. Woo. Woo, woo, woo. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to those of us on YouTube and Instagram Live. Hello. We're rocking some blues today. Feeling some cool colors in the intense heat of summertime. Yowza, it's pretty intense. So we're gonna cool off today with some cello tips. And thank you all so much for joining. So awesome to see people popping up in the feed. And so for those of you who might be new, Cello Tip Thursday is something we do at the end of every month. Usually it's the last Thursday of every month. And we all get together and we talk cello, music industry. Chelly's here to help me demonstrate anything you might want to see. So you can share. This is a place of sharing as well if you want to share your personal victories in the practice room or something you're working on that you could use an extra opinion on. So we're here to help you out as well as hello. As well as anything you want to know about the industry outside of cello, just music. So for those of you who have been following me along know this. I'm just going to tweak Instagram. That's a little better. Just so you can see more of Chelly. There we go. I'm looking super blue on Instagram and I love it, but I don't need it to be that blue. So give me a second. I know you guys love when all the colors come on and it's really fun for me as well. That's a little better. Okay, so for those of you who have been following me, you probably already know this, but for the past 3 weeks, I was in New York State at Saratoga Springs for the Mostly Modern Contemporary Music Festival. And so we got a chance to play pieces by living composers as well as orchestral pieces from the 20th and 21st century. And we just did a lot of chamber music collaboration as well. I did 3 performances with my duet partner. We're Mirror to Mirror or M2M. You might have seen me post about us a little bit. And it was such an incredible summer. So any of you composers out there who have questions or if you're interested in working with composers, kind of what that collaborative experience is like, I'm more than thrilled to talk about that as well. So a lot of stuff on the docket we can talk about today. And of course, here's Chelly. I have to check. It was kind of sad. I didn't get to bring Chelly. I had to get a rental, which was a pretty good cello, but I really miss Chelly. And Chelly may sound a little bit quiet because I haven't played on Chelly since the beginning of June. And I miss Chelly. But we warmed up together today. So only going to sound more and more open as the days go on. We have our first question of June. Thank you so much. Can you please demonstrate and explain how to do the Barre Trill? Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied already. We haven't even started. Can you explain how to do the Barre Trill of the Sarabande of the second suite, bars 1 and 13? Yeah, so the Bach Sarabande is one of my favorites. The D minor suite, I should say. The entire D minor suite. It's always between D minor and C minor. It depends on the day. Those are my 2 favorite suites. Shocker, I like the minor ones. Probably could have guessed. So just an idea of trills while you're in barred fingering. So it's not very apparent by how it's notated, but when you have a barred fingering in Bach, so you're not gonna bar and trill both the E and A. The trill is only for the higher voice on top, so you're not gonna hear, so if we're gonna do the beginning, let me see. So I started down bow. So I don't go. You're not gonna trill both voices. That sounds pretty rock and roll though. It's just for the top voice. Just for the top voice. So I believe the trill is written on top of the staff, which it usually is. But I agree with you. It's not very clear in how it's notated. So I hold. So you want to practice, I would practice getting into that first in tune. Getting that consistent. And you might notice sometimes I use my second finger on top of my first finger to get a little extra support when I have to do barre. And for those of you who might not know what barre means, it's when you're playing one finger across multiple strings. So in this case, it's our first finger over the D and G string. So that's what barre is when you're holding two notes with one finger. So your finger is basically having to cover multiple strings. So what you could do that might be helpful is really make sure you have a healthy A, first finger on the bottom, because you have to be pretty flexible on the top voice to get that trill in. So if the bottom voice is fuzzy, so I would make sure you're supporting with the elbow, lean into the lower voice. Okay, so you can just try a couple. Always checking that fifth is in tune. However you gotta turn it, you gotta make sure that fifth's in tune. Just do a couple of those. Okay, so those steps should help a lot. Making sure we get a good, consistent, perfect fifth. So not doing the trill at first. And then making sure we're really leaning in to the lower voice, since that's what is going to be constant throughout the trill. You have a little more flexibility on top because you're switching between notes so quickly with the trill. And then if you find you can't get good support, maybe bring your left elbow up a little bit higher. Just a little bit higher to get more leveraged. I believe the other one you mentioned is bar 13. I believe it's that. It's the same type of formula, making sure you have a good fifth. Checking your D first. Making sure you have a good fifth. Leaning with a supportive elbow, maybe lifting it a little bit. And then trilling on top. So when you're trilling, my barre finger tends to be flat, and then my trilling finger is curved. So you kind of have this kind of shape going on. So, oh, you're most welcome. I hope, yeah, I definitely hope that's helpful. Oh, hello. I love seeing people pop up in the Instagram chat. Hi, Juan. Nice to meet you. Juan is one of my amazing patrons on Patreon. Thank you, Juan. Juan's a fan of the aesthetic today. I love it. Yeah, trying something different. A little different today with the blues. Cool. So yeah, that is Barre with trills. And it's great. Oh yeah, you're most welcome, Juan. So the thing with barre and trilling, really try to tackle it in a simplistic way. Really, so we focused on getting the fifth and then having a stable barre and then a fluttering second finger for the trill. So kind of building it in layers rather than trying to tackle all three components at once. Just kind of trying to build it with stability because it is a lot of moving parts. Oh, Juan said something funny. All that's missing is electric V. Oh, V will come back for a live stream for sure. Yeah, don't you worry. People seem to really enjoy the electric live stream, and I always try to switch these up once in a while so you all see something different. Cool. Not just cello tips and tricks, but those are very important. That's what we're doing for today, but maybe in the future, maybe in the near future, we'll have to bring V back on. Cool. Awesome. So that's a bit about barre and trilling at the same time. And when in doubt, now this is kind of a general tip overall. And I noticed I've been talking about this a lot in teaching recently, is the power of the left elbow and how it can give you certain angles. Yes. And we'll talk about a couple instances where I think the left elbow is often overlooked. And it's very important for a lot of things. So that was one thing we talked about in general. If you have a double stop and you find the lower part of the double stop isn't getting supported, or if you have a chord, so let's say we are doing D minor, so let's do a D major chord. If you hear how the lower is kind of fuzzy when I'm drooping my elbow? Because I can't really get my weight around. So here's, bear with me for a second. We're going to do some geometry in a sense. Math is not my favorite. That's a fun fact that I think a lot of people are surprised because I'm a musician. I was bad at math. And I did well in school, but only because I studied like twice as much as I was supposed to. I was not very good at math. But we're going to do some geometry. So I don't know if some of you dolls know this. The fingerboard is curved. The fingerboard's curved. It's very slight, but it's not flat like, for example, a guitar. Their board is much more flatter. Ours is kind of curved. So follow me with this curved imagery. So if we have the lower string, so this is the C string side, and this is the A string side, you have to come around that curve to get to the lower strings. You have to. So with this curve, if I kind of am drooping to the A string side because my elbow is low, my weight can't get around the curve. So we talk a lot in my lessons when you're going to the lower strings, you got to hike up that elbow to get around this curve. Otherwise, the notes sound kind of fuzzy. If you're pulling, your weight's coming this way. You need it to go over here to the C string side. So you can lift a little bit to get around that curve. So that's a huge thing we talk about in my lessons. Each string has a very subtle elbow height, and your elbow's kind of like a car jack. A string, D string, up for the G, up for the C. So, I mean, I don't have to be super, super high for the A string. I want to be comfortable, but I also want to feel supported. So bumped it up, bump it up, bump it up. Just like that. And the thing that's telling me if it's good or not is the wrist. You see how I have a bump? We want to avoid that bump. So I swing out the elbow until I see that bump disappear. So you see it becomes a semi-straight line, a straight path from the wrist to the elbow. And that's really important. So, and think of it like, almost like you're going to do the chicken dance. I don't know if, that's like a 90s kids thing. We would do the chicken dance. Or just pretend you're, I don't know, flaring out your elbows. That's how you do the adjustment. If you're a 90s kid, you know what I'm talking about. Don't leave me hanging. You know the na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, I'm embarrassing myself. You know what it is if you were a 90s kid, I swear. So this is how you do the adjustment. You swing out your elbow. Because I see a lot of this in younger cellists, not in age, in journey. You can start the cello at any age. So I mean young as in you've been playing for a couple years. See, someone on YouTube knows what I'm talking about. They said they're a pro chicken dancer. See, I'm not alone. It's a thing. I swear it's a thing. Oh, you made my day. Thank you. So that's how you do the adjustment. And it's kind of the opposite. If your elbow's too high, we have a V shape in the wrist. So you really want to have this smooth, uninterrupted path going down to your elbow. So I see a lot of this on the C string. See, okay, people on YouTube understand me. They're talking about the chicken dance. Don't get sidetracked from the cello tips. No, I think it's great. I love it. So you guys are cracking me up. I love it. So yeah, if you have a bent or a dip, really swing out that elbow like a chicken wing, and that's how you make the adjustment, is swinging it out. So again, if your teacher says raise your left elbow, have a higher left elbow, and you just do that, well, now we got the other problem because we have a V, because we have the V shape here. You want it to be a straight path, and notice my elbow's not up in the air. It's just equalizing this wrist to elbow relationship. So that's so huge. We talked about the lower strings. Another reason this is so important is once you start getting into thumb position and you have to play solid notes with the thumb. What I mean by solid notes are notes that are not harmonic. So those harmonics are airy. It's a property of the cello where I don't have to weigh down the string to play those. But sometimes you can also play, that's the third movement of Haydn Cello Concerto in C. And that requires a lot of playing solid notes with your thumb that aren't harmonics. Kind of a cool, I use this all the time, this kind of fingering trick. When you use your thumb, well, I'm going to get ahead of myself. We're going to talk about that next. The elbow's important because a lot of people, if their elbow's too low, they press in with the thumb, they push down, and that creates so much unwanted tension in this part of your thumb. We really don't want that. Granted, you do have a pretty beefy muscle here if you're a cellist, just because we use a lot of our hand in how we play. But the thing is, it's a very small muscle. It is. in the aspect of your whole body. It is a small muscle. And if you're pressing and pressing and pressing, you're going to really strain it quickly. Goodness forbid you don't want to injure yourself. So if you have a higher elbow, you get a little bit of a seesaw effect. If you ever played on one of those in the playground, if your elbow's a little bit higher, it's going to bring this part of your hand, the thumb, down into the string a little bit. And that's going to allow you to lean in with the thumb rather than pressing with the thumb. So that is so important. Another reason why getting used to having a supportive elbow to wrist ratio also helps in thumb position. And again, now we're kind of parallel to the floor. See how I could do this? Whoa, crazy. Yeah. And it's pretty much parallel, but it's still a straight path. So we had a straight path here, and we had a straight path down and diagonal, but it's still a straight path in terms of I don't have any bumps or dips. So one reason I love to use the thumb, going back to the Haydn example, it's a full octave. If you use your thumb, you can get the range of a full octave. So if my thumb is on C and on G, we get a whole octave. That passage is actually very tricky to get clean. And often when you have to play, whoops. When you have to play octaves, it's often thumb and 3. So it's just a very good thing to know in the back of your mind that if you can get comfortable with thumb on solid notes and then 3, you can play octaves and then the notes inside of that octave. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know, I actually arrived back here in Vegas yesterday. So I'm a little, I don't know what time it is. Don't ask me. I just had to know I had to show up for our live stream. And outside of that, don't ask me what time it is. My brain's really confused. Okay, so you get a full octave inside of that thumb. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it feels good to be back. Great. So that's kind of what we've been talking about with the left elbow and why the support is really important. Other things, I mean, also preparing for shifting. The left elbow should really be talked about so much more. The left elbow, it's so important. And again, to prepare for shifting, up, it's a part of my shifting prep. Someone said I was awesome. What? Well, your support is what's awesome, my friend. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thank you. I love that. A little encouraging shout out always makes me happy. Thank you. All right, we have our next question on YouTube. Yay. I'm going to talk about shifting for a couple more minutes and then I'll get to your question. So, yeah, shifting is also great for the elbow is great for shifting. That's what I meant to say. The elbow is great for shifting. So when let's say I want to go, so big thing. Sometimes people shift and then they realize, oh, the elbow's got to come up. You shift. Oh, you should do that before you move. So you have a straight path without any wiggle room. So lift. Lift. And how do I know how high? Well, start on your destination note. So in this case, it was an F. Okay, so I want to be about here to be comfortable. Okay, so I would start wherever you are, even if you're up here. Take note of what feels comfortable and looks right. Then try to replicate that. Up, lift, land. So up, slide, land. That's what I should say. Up, slide, and then you land wherever you need to be. So left elbow, so important. And again, if your teacher, I always sound like a broken record with my students. Let's talk about the left elbow. Check your left elbow. Check your left elbow. It's because it's so important for so many things. Whether you're a beginner to an advanced student playing octaves in thumb position, your left elbow is so important. And if you don't get the muscle memory to lift it up when you're a beginner, it's going to be really hard to bring back for more advanced repertoire. So you have to get used to it in the early stages. Okay, YouTube is lots of stuff. So we gotta boogie. Okay, what would you recommend for intonation? For example, I cannot press the right places when changing positions while playing the Bach suite. Thank you very much. I am grateful. Yes, I had a teacher tell me once, if you can play Bach in tune, you can play anything in tune, because Bach is very challenging to play in tune because it's so pure harmonically that if one thing is a little bit off, it's so noticeable. So, shifting in Bach. So here's what I would advise. A lot. Whoa, there's so many hearts on Instagram. Thank you. Someone's just pressing the heart button. That's very nice. Thank you. So, what I would recommend. Oh, now people on YouTube are doing hearts. You guys are so fun. You guys are very comical today. What's going on? What's happening? Okay, Bach and shifting. So, what I would recommend first are to find your open string relationships. So, fourth position. Oh, someone else wants to know intonation. You just tuned in the nick of time. We're talking about shifting and intonation. So this applies to your question as well. So your fourth position, first finger matches the next highest string. Okay? That's one. The next important spot that has open string relationships is your fourth finger, first position. So that is in octaves. Whatever your fourth finger is the next lowest string. Also, I suspect Chelly doesn't sound quite. You have to make sure your open strings are in tune. Yeah, in order for this to be effective, you should really triple check your open strings just because of weather. Okay, so fourth finger, So we have octaves, and guess what? Your fourth finger is second finger in second position and first finger in first position. So you have an open string that can help you tune every single position 1 through 4. So let's take a shifting example. Let's talk about, you were mentioning Bach. Let's do the opening of the D minor suite. So the prelude, we start, well, I start. You can play open string. I start in fourth position, so. Okay, so every time I play a first finger, I'm gonna check it with my open string. Oh, we shifted to third. So now our 2 is on D. So I'm gonna play that one more time. So a little lower. G, third position. Now you've gotten back to first position. So you see there are a lot of places you can check with an open string. Oh, you're most welcome for the tips. See you next time. Yep. So I hope that helps. Just having, that's a great place to start, open string matching. Again, this band where you're in fourth position, gonna match an open string. Fourth finger, first position. That spot is gonna give you octaves with your next lowest string. That's how I help a lot of students find first position without using the tapes. So if a kid, no, that's not right. Close. So sometimes that's how I help people find first position without tapes, is we do ear training with fourth finger. So that's a big one. Starting with that. Just open string matching. Very, very important. Another thing is to think about, let's see, fourths and fifths. If you've gotten that far in music theory, a fourth. So let's say we're in D minor, D, E, F, G. D to G is a fourth. D to A is a fifth. And our strings are tuned in fifths as well. C to G, G to D, D to A, that's a fifth. So that's kind of the next step in intonation with Bach, is finding fourths and fifths within your passage. So let's start the same. Checking those open strings. String. I should really make a vlog about perfect interval intonation markers, because you are watching what I did for most of the entirety of my early undergrad, was just tuning octaves, fourths, and fifths. I did so much of that. So much tuning with perfect fourths and perfect fifths. So I think that's going to be a vlog in the near future where we talk about that, because it is very effective Yes, you can sit with a tuner. Yes, you can play to a drone. But there's something very special about getting acquainted with your instrument, knowing where the intervals live on your instrument, knowing how they're tuned exactly on your instrument. So when I get to that first finger, I know how that sounds in relation to my A string, not necessarily the A drone or tuner is giving me. Oh my gosh, I see Kenny! Kenny! Kenny's popped up on Instagram. Kenny is one of my festival besties. I met them at Mostly Modern, and Kenny is a fabulous bassoonist. Won the Concerto competition. Like so epic on bassoon. Hi, Kenny. Kenny's awesome. I love Kenny. Phenomenal bassoon player. Sweet. Thank you for joining, Kenny. So we were sorry. I got sidetracked. Kenny's so distracting. So let's say my first finger's off. See how? Oh gosh. There it is. So I'm gonna start sharp. I was purposefully sharp, and then you hear it settle in, and you hear. So basically, what happens is, this is a little physics moment. When you have two pitches that are out of tune, the sound waves clash. So again, every unique tone has a sound wave. And when you have two that aren't in tune, they're kind of, my hands are going to be sound waves right now. They're kind of out of sync, and you get what's called beats in between them. And if you listen really closely, you'll kind of hear this pulsing sound, yay, 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 yay. And it means they're out of sync, they're not in tune. But then when they're aligned and in tune, you get this harmonious sound, this double stop or chord that doesn't have any whoa, 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 whoa coming into it. Another way to think of it is for those of you who have ridden a bike, let's say there's oh goodness forbid, there's a knot in your bike chain. You're going to feel this little bump every time your bike chain goes over this little knot. That's kind of what a beat is like. And the sound is smooth when the beat is gone. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a vlog, and I hope that helps. Really start with open strings. Find the markers of your open strings. Fourth finger, first position. Fourth finger, first position. And all the other positions you encounter that pitch. Yeah, someone said this is also the reason we tune in double stops. Yes, and I did see your question. Oh, man. Sasha. This is how much I love y'all. I was on a plane last night. And you're asking Dvorak cello concerto questions. I got you, Sasha. Don't worry. I'm a little sleepy, but I got you. My Dvorak part is right nearby. Okay, so, oh, I sound amazing, thank you. Yes, if you have any experience with it, oh yes, I do. I have many long hours with this excerpt. Do you have any advice for the triplets, the triple string crossing triplets? Oh, I know those. Oh man, every cellist and their mom knows about these because we hear it. They hear us practicing it all the time. Yes, I got you. I know exactly what you mean by these triplets. And you already answered your question in a way. You said, this is why we tune in double stops. You played these triplets as double stops. And I'm assuming this is the right excerpt. The one in treble clef, that is on the second page. everyone always worries about the bow. Don't worry about the bow. Step one is to understand the relationship between the double stop and how it moves over the course of this passage. So, do we have parallel motion? And what do I mean by that? So, the first C sharp, G, B moves to D, F sharp, A sharp. So we have half steps, but some half steps go up, some half steps go down. So we don't have parallel movement here. So that's kind of the first thing I would tell you is you're right. This isn't a way a triple stop with 3 voices. You have to know what each individual voice is doing. So I start with the thumb, and you have to be very kind to your thumb. We were talking about the thumb up top. It's a small muscle, and we got to make sure we're leaning, not pressing. But if this is something, you can be very, very experienced and still tire out your thumb exercising it too much. So I would just play the top voice, the first note of each of those sextuplets. Really getting that good. So that's only 2 bars, believe it or not. And now, try to add the second voice. And if it's not in tune, go back. Your thumb and first finger are in parallel motion. Whenever your thumb's going up and down by whatever step, so is your first finger. So to get those 2 voices, the top and middle voice, really in tune, really well together and synchronized, then all you have to add is the 3rd note. I can't tell you how long I spent on that exercise. Really getting the individual voices. So let's see here. Yeah, good. So it's great to know that it starts that way at least. Then later we kind of are switching around the top 2 voices. But for that part, and then I'm so glad you're enjoying it and it's going well. We have a doll here who has been working on Dvorak Concerto for about a month. Now that's good. Really getting into the nitty-gritty of these exercises. This is a good point to be doing that. So work on. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. My thumb isn't. Well, we talked about that leaning elbow, right? Leaning. Rather than pressing down, you want to do some leaning in from this side of your elbow, and hopefully that will help. So the other thing, you saw the top voice, the top and the middle, and then I practiced the middle and the bottom voice. So the first hand shape. Lift the elbow, support your wrist for this. Rotate your wrist, do some nice little rotations, be gentle in between some of these things. You notice for the last one, your bottom voice doesn't move. Oops. once you do that a couple times, I would take a break. Maybe practice the beautiful melody on top. Just to balance it out so you're practicing lyrical stuff, and then you can go back to the thumb stuff, just so you're not practicing thumb for like 30 minutes straight. That's not good for your thumb. So I would find kind of a more relaxing thing to practice in between these rounds of working on your thumb. So once you... Now keep in mind, you probably should spend a couple days separating the voices. Days. Not talking hours, days. Well, I mean, it's probably an hour cumulative, but that's besides the point. What I mean is separate this out into an exercise for a few days. There's nothing wrong with that. I've had to do that so many times for these tricky concerto passages, not even playing it how it's written, separating it into chords. Nah, you are all right, Sasha. Sasha's being so considerate. I'll let you know if another question pops up. In the meantime, you're the most recent question, so we'll keep going. Oh, the bow. Yeah. Hi in the chat. Hello. Hi. Thank you for joining Cello Tip Thursday live stream. Oh yeah, the bow. So here's the thing about the bow too. You really have to, oh, sorry. The final step for those double stops. I'll do it one more time. So this is kind of replicating the rolling, and you gotta hear you get to hear it as a chord, the top two voices and the bottom two voices, and we're kind of smearing it together. But again, this is kind of the final step you would do maybe on week 2. You wouldn't do this until the second week of tearing these triple stops apart. So top 2, bottom 2, and then back up. Shift. Sorry. I'm going to give you such a secret tip. Secret tip for that shift. Where do I go? I'm here? How are you going to know where to go? You might know this already, but my big tip for that shift, you have a half-step relationship in your middle voice. So your thumb. So granted, we're not really playing it. We have our first finger on G, D string. Your thumb is on E. Even though we're not playing it, it's playing the B. It's technically resting on your E. What is a half step down from that E? Your D sharp of the second hand shape. So use your thumb. That's my big secret for this part. Even though you are not playing the E, your thumb is on that placeholder. Now your first finger is going to go right behind it for that D sharp. It's my big secret. Find half steps in between where you shift. You're welcome. Now for the bow, you have to do a lot of experimenting. A lot of experimenting. I've been very lucky in that there's a couple ways to do it, but wow, this Instagram chat, y'all are spamming the hearts lately. That's very flattering. Thank you. Lots of pretty colors in that chat. Thank you. So for the bow, just take one of the hand shapes. Guess what? If your thumb is tired, pick a 3-note chord. Doesn't matter. Right? I know it's not the notes in the Dvorak, but we want to be in about the same region. Let's do a D major chord. Okay? First, play them as smooth slurs. And I gotta tell you something. I know some like people who have soloed with orchestra. They said, if I can't do the spiccato, I just do slurs and it's fine. If all else fails, you can do some slurs. That's fine. But start with a smooth slur. Now, make your bow actually a little crooked. What? Did she say to play with a slightly crooked bow? Yes, I did. Because if your bow is slightly crooked, you are going to have a little bit of interference which might cause it to naturally bounce. And that's what we want for this spiccato. So if it's misaligned a little bit, we're going to get some rattling and shaking. Kind of like, I'm trying to think of an example of this, a good analogy for this. I mean, if you have, if you have these two interlocking pieces, if you have two interlocking pieces of metal and they are under vibration, if they're slightly off, you're going to get some rattling if it's a little crooked. So having a crooked bow is fine. I just want to quickly, I see you in the Instagram chat. I see you. But sadly, this isn't a piece or song request live stream. Sometimes I do them if we don't have questions, but I really want to prioritize the questions. So, sorry, I'm not going to have time to play your requested song, but maybe I'll do a, I haven't done a song request specific live stream yet, but I might in the future. Thank you for that suggestion, but not today. I'm really sorry. Not today. Maybe for a future one. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Okay, so we're just gonna pick a comfy chord so your thumb can have a break. And you're gonna make it a little crooked. For some people, having the frog a little forward or a little back, it depends on your balance. How do I do this? For me, I have the frog a little closer to myself. That's how I've started. And you roll it, and then you should try to make it not a smooth slur. Think about making it jagged. So have a little kick, a little sharp pull as you come down. So we go from a smooth slur, and you want to have it be kind of jagged as you come down, not smooth and whatever chord you want. Again. So I'm going to do it too much. You hear this kind of skipping sound? I give it a little kickstart on the little bit messy. If it sounds too messy, do a little bit less kick. But every time I go up to the top voice, I kind of yank it down, pull it down, pull, pull. Every time I come back up to the top. And that will kickstart my jumping as I roll down and up. Again, that might have been a little too messy for my liking. Depends on what kind of hall you're playing in. Sometimes it's actually really clear, depending on the acoustics of the hall. But if it's a little messy, try to be a little heavier with your bow arm, and let's do a little bit less of a yank. Control it too much. As long as you're keeping that path going, keep that path going, and just do that little yank at the top, and that will help. And again, this will take some time. This is a very difficult bow stroke. It is very difficult. You also have to have a flexible bow. And what I mean by that is a bow that can easily bounce. You know, sometimes it's not the player, sometimes it can be the bow. That doesn't mean you go out and buy a brand new bow just to do this one technique. But if you can do a good spiccato, like if you can do a good spiccato, then you can do this technique. So I hope that really helps. It is a very difficult passage. It's notorious amongst cellists. Everyone kind of holds their breath when they see one of their peers up there getting to this part. It is very difficult. Oh no, you broke your bow. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm glad it's getting repaired. I'm glad you have a place to take it to get repaired. You're most welcome. So I hope that really helps. Yes, you're welcome. Again, experiment, because for some people, again, I've had a lot of it depends on the balance of your arm, your particular bow, the flexibility of your fingers. And again, when in doubt, you know, experiment with the crooked aspect of it, because I find that is what has really differed for me and other people I have taught. I've been told, like, make it a little crooked, make it a lot crooked. I have to do it more crooked. Oh, you're not doing it as crooked. That's the big thing I find depends on the cellist, is how angled we make our bow for things like that, like sautille and this kind of slurred spiccato, I find is where we make the bow a little bit crooked to help it activate this natural jump. Again, kind of getting that bow to rattle on its own. So I believe that's mostly... And you notice too, I'm not doing a lot of it with my arm. I'm kind of pulling the bow down with my fingers. Kind of, I'm going to loop it in my thumb, kind of like this. This. That kind, like you're pulling something off of a wall, kind of that. I'm not going wild with my elbow and arm. A lot of it is mostly with the wrist. Awesome. Now we have time for one more question. One more question on Instagram. I know two types of vibrato, slowly and wide, and fast and narrow. So what do you think about fast and widely? Sure, fast and wide vibrato, I mean, we're talking about Dvorak Concerto, and the opening is a great spot for fast and wide vibrato. Fast and wide. Oh, you're most welcome. Have a great rehearsal, Sasha. You're most welcome. I hope this is helpful, and I'm excited for you to learn this piece. It's a huge one in the repertoire. Okay, now vibrato. I like to use a fast and wide vibrato when it is a glorious moment where I have a lot of time. I want to sound noble or declamatory, like I really need to make a profound statement. So, that first note of Dvorak, that's a big one that I use this type of vibrato for. And you notice my elbow is pretty far back to make that vibrato happen. And to get really wide, I'm really rocking my arm and wrist to make that happen. And you need to be in touch with your arm motion to make a fast and wide vibrato happen. Because that is, again, my arm having it, whoa, let's not tap our bow on the wall. That's not a good idea. Having this rotate is going to rotate my finger and give us that wide. And then the speed you do it will make it fast. So this motion is going to give you that wide. Little bit is going to make it narrow. You just have to be careful that your pitch doesn't wander. And this is a very dangerous thing with the Dvorak. Yeah, you don't want you don't want it to be like a quarter tone each way. So really, I'm not squeezing with the thumb. I'm sinking so my finger doesn't slide around. I'm really sinking down into the neck of the cello. And I find bringing the elbow back gives me a little bit more range of motion for a fast and wide vibrato. Now keep in mind, you need to have time. This is a little bit like a quasi cadenza in terms of the pacing. So I have time to wind my elbow back, forward for the 16ths, and then back again. Now a place I wouldn't do it, I don't have enough time. Those are dotted 16ths and, dotted 8th, 16th. It just sounds kind of messy. I don't have enough time. So you need enough time for that kind of vibrato. So the notes I'm doing them on are dotted quarters and half notes. So I love that vibrato. It is very juicy. Again, I would really save it for longer notes in slower tempos. It is also a very passionate kind of vibrato. So I like to use it for louder dynamics, more extroverted moments on the cello. For something soft and intimate, narrow vibrato is good for that, but again, so is slow. I mean, vibrato really gives character. Vibrato really gives character. So think about the type of character you want, knowing that a wide, slow vibrato is going to be very lush and full and rich. And again, you need time to set up that elbow, so I would save it for longer note values and slower tempos. It's a type of vibrato I use sparingly, if that helps. Yeah, it's a really special kind. So I try to save it for really big moments. All right, my dolls. Thank you so much for a fascinating live stream as always. Love it. Y'all keep me on my toes. It's so fun. I love seeing new faces on this live stream as well. Thank you all so much for your contributions, for asking such very important questions. I love that this is a space where you all feel comfortable bringing your questions. We talk about a lot of great stuff on here, and you guys are so crucial in making these happen. I mean, I can sit up here and talk for hours. Don't tempt me. I can do it. But it's more valuable, I think, to know what you are working on and what you want to know. So thank you all so much. So awesome to see you all. Thank you. You all are awesome for your support and for coming out to this stream. And if you're not following me or subscribed already to YouTube or Instagram, any of those platforms, be sure you are, so you can get notified when we do this in July. We do these once a month, these live Q&A sessions. So thank you all so much. And Shelly and I will see you soon, as always, in a future video. Bye. Thank you.